Well, we got to wear the raincoat, and I'm not sure if you guys also introduced Kyle Roberts.
I've not been introduced officially to the viewing audience in New Orleans, so this is that opportunity.
We're here to help out. He's from Dallas, I'm from D.C., and we're monitoring sort of the backup studio, which is here, the Louisiana Public Broadcasting. And you're fortunately the meteorologist.
Yeah,
here.
so I was called into town to help out however I could. First showed up in New Orleans to kind of help out the great folks at WWL, the meteorologists there, Chris and Alex and Dave and the other guys, and help everybody out there. But it was like, well, we need somebody to be in this backup studio in case things get bad enough that, broadcasts need to be done from here. So sent up here and helping out however we can.
And he's good at looking at the radar. I'm good at just saying what's happening around us. And I can tell you, we're wearing the boots now. We've got some rain that actually came down. Not much. It wasn't a terrible amount of rain that's come down here. And we've had some rain intermittently throughout the day.
Yeah, you really hear not much has really happened. It's just kind of a little bit of gusty winds, some intermittent rain. I mean, I think when we came out 10 minutes ago, it's probably the heaviest I've seen it rain since I've been up here. Obviously, conditions will deteriorate. Going to expect looks like a lot more rain here than New Orleans is going to get, so we're going to end up with some flooding here in the Baton Rouge area. It looks like our rain totals could be in that 10 to 20 inch range conservatively, so that's what we'll be dealing with here for us, and obviously we'll get the wind too. But it does look like maybe the rain totals in New Orleans aren't going to be as high as they're going to be here.
And there's a lot of concern from folks that live in Baton Rouge, thinking about 2016 when there was all that flooding, and they just are hoping that there's not going to be a repeat of that. And we were with some folks that were getting sandbags earlier today. We spoke with the mayor of Baton Rouge that was saying that she had a lot of concerns, but also thought they were taking the right precautions. The other thing that's interesting is the Mississippi River right now.
Yeah.
Have you gone by to see it yet?
I saw it when I went down to New Orleans when I was in New Orleans yesterday, and it was very eerie seeing the gates closed and nobody along the waterfront, and everybody was kind of back at the barricades taking pictures, and that's as close as anybody could get. And that was a little bit eerie, obviously, the right thing to do, but a little eerie. And it does look like the Mississippi River, or the meteorologists there have talked about it, has crested. At least for now, it might kind of crest again here as we head into tomorrow once that heavier rain starts to fall. But it looks like that peak crest may be around 17 feet, whereas, the initial projections were 19 feet. Obviously, that's 2 feet lower. That's a good thing. That's below what the levees can withhold, so that's good. That's where things are trending in the right direction. Of course, it is yet, the heavy rain has not started falling yet. It hadn't started falling here, hadn't started falling in New Orleans yet. So we're not out of the woods yet. We can't just sound the all clear and hey, everything's fine and, whatever. But it does look like things are trending in the right direction, which is good news.
Because it sounds like this was never, a wind event. It was always just about how much rain we got, whether it was a hurricane or a storm or just anything. As long if there was rain coming down, it's a danger because...
Yeah, absolutely. Given how the Mississippi River is twice as high as it should be for this time of the year. So you compound that with, how much ever rain's going to fall. Obviously, that's going to create problems. This storm's basically forecasted to almost go right up the Mississippi River, so any rain that falls north is going to funnel right back down. It'll diffuse a little bit and kind of run off into other areas, but it's kind of, I don't want to say perfect storm because that's a bad analogy, but it is kind of almost a very perfect storm of circumstances here with this sort of thing for a heavy rain event.
And to talk about the river being high, you guys might know the iconic Baton Rouge sign that's right there on the Mississippi River. It's basically covered up. We just saw the top edges, and me being from D.C., I came here, didn't even know there was a sign, and I had some of the locals pointing out how eerie it was, and then they pointed out the stairwell down to nowhere because it was just cut off by the river that was there. We should probably talk about where we are a little bit and just show this. You can see we've got the truck outside here. We're at Louisiana Public Broadcasting, and basically the idea is this. If there's some big flooding event that happens in New Orleans.
So I'm from Dallas, this station in Dallas, WFA in Dallas. Our sister station's obviously WWL. So last year, or 2 years ago when Harvey hit, the KHOU station in Houston, which is our sister station there, flooded. They had to evacuate everybody out of there. We took over for them in Dallas and had to do the weather for Houston out of Dallas. And so we're basically here, worst case scenario, if something like that were to happen, we could provide forecasts and information to those of you watching at home right now if something were to happen at the main station. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
Right.
I don't foresee something like that happen, but why not be prepared?
And it's not just, us that are blabbering on camera. It's all the technical parts. So we've got engineers in there, you know, IT. We got a producer Dominic behind the camera hiding over there. So it's, you know, we've got everybody here to make sure that we're ready. And in fact, Dominic was telling me that during Hurricane Katrina, WWL was the only station that was able to stay on during the storm because they had this studio, because they were able to use this. So it can be crucial. Hopefully it won't be needed. Hopefully you won't be seeing us that much here, but
yeah, I hope not either, because that means everything's going exactly smooth, you know, according to plan, and everything's going smoothly. But you know, you got to be prepared in these sort of situations for sure.
Right, and that's not something we want to see. But you know, when we had the rain coming over here, you're the expert. I understand that's just a band. That's not the main show. You know, that's not the main.
That was nothing. I mean, that was just a little. Yeah, if you want to call it a band, it was a band. I mean, those were just little showers that we're moving at. The heavier bands are still, for sure, like off the coast right now, kind of south of that circulation center. I mean, the meteorologist, you know, Chris and Alex have been talking about those. There's a couple little heavier bands that have made their way on shore, kind of south of the New Orleans area, between Morgan City and New Orleans. So there's a couple stronger bands starting to make their way on shore. So things are kind of starting to evolve here, but it still really doesn't look like, you know, the worst of at least of the heavy rain will happen until daybreak, if not, you know, during the day tomorrow.
I find it
especially for here, but you know, I know most people watching are from New Orleans, obviously, right now.
And I find it interesting that you're saying that there might even be more rain more west than over New Orleans. What's it looking like?
Yeah, I mean, depending on the path of the storm, the heaviest these rain bands are notoriously hard to predict, you know, exactly where those are going to set up, because sometimes they can be very narrow, and that narrow swath of rain can dump just tremendous amounts of rain. But you go 10, 20 miles, 30 miles east or west of that band, and it's, you know, still getting rain, but not like this significant, horrendous, you know, life-threatening flash flooding and stuff like that. So those bands are notoriously hard to predict. Those bands will set up somewhere in Louisiana, whether it's over Baton Rouge, whether it's between here and New Orleans, whether it's, you know, maybe a little west of here. That's just, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, that's just, but somewhere we'll likely deal with that.
Yeah, you guys have an incredibly difficult job keeping an eye on all this.
It's not easy, that's for sure, but we do our best.
Yeah, right. All right, guys. So we'll send it now back to you from here in Baton Rouge. The last update we have is right now, no rain. We've had a few drizzles.
I think get rid of
we could lose the jackets for the next time we see you guys. All right, we'll send it back to you in New Orleans.